Never book with a travel portal. You're going to get stuck when the airline cancels your flight, your hotel is going to lose your reservation, and you're going to get pregnant and die. This is the conventional wisdom when it comes to the travel portal. But today I'm serving up bad advice. Let's talk about it in the comments. But first we're going to talk about why you would want to book with the travel portal, what you can do to prevent bad things from happening, and third, I'll share my personal code as far as what I do and don't book with the travel portal. Some reasons why you would want to book on a travel portal is because you have a credit card that earns more points whenever you do book with them. For instance, if you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you'll earn 5 times points back whenever you book via the Chase Travel Portal. If you have the Sapphire Reserve, you earn 10 times points back on hotels booked via the Chase Travel Portal as well. Another reason would be that you have credits that you have to use, but you have to redeem them via the travel portal. For the Capital One Venture X, you get a $300 credit that you can redeem whenever you book via the Capital One Travel Portal. And finally, if you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you can get a lot of value through the travel portal as you get 1.5 cents per point minimum. That's 50% more value than if you were just to cash out your points. It could be easy to find a good deal on economy flights and some cheap hotels. And then here are the common arguments against booking with the travel portal. One is that you don't get any status benefits or you don't earn any points with an airline or hotel whenever you book via a travel portal. Now, if you're just traveling every once in a while, these points aren't going to accumulate to much, and you probably don't have any status if you don't travel that often to begin with. So for many people, that's not a huge issue. Another reason you may encounter is that oftentimes these prices on the travel portal can be a little bit more expensive than if you were to book directly. It really is kind of hit and miss based on the portal and based on the hotel and flight that you're looking at. It does seem to be more common if you're booking international flights specifically. And then finally, the most important argument against booking through a travel portal is that you're dealing with a third-party entity. And this is where most of the fears come from, because whenever you book through an online travel agency or a third party, and so if you're not familiar with this, think of like booking through Expedia, hotels.com. You're not booking with whatever hotel you're trying to stay at directly or whatever airline you're flying on. You're booking through this third party. And the argument goes to where if something goes wrong with your flight or with your hotel reservation, you may get stuck in the blame game where the hotel or the airline will tell you to speak with the online travel agency like Chase Travel Portal, and then sometimes Chase would be like, oh no, there's an issue on the airline, we're all good on our end, and then you get stuck with this headache and you have long hold times, etc. And now this risk is real, but here's my take on it and here's how I prevent those issues from happening. If I book a flight through the travel portal, you will get the booking reference number via the Chase Travel Portal or whichever portal you're booking through, but then you should also get an airline reservation number that should be specific to the airline you're booking with. For instance, if you book a United flight, you should get an email or a confirmation page that gives you that number. You take that number and plug it into your United app or go to the United's website and look up that reservation. It should be attached to your name. And so that way you should have that flight information on your phone or via the United's website, and it should be attached to your account. You need to do this with plenty of time before your flight just so you can iron out any issues. If you accidentally input your name wrong or some other issue, you'll want to resolve that very quickly before you actually get to the airport. And for hotels, I like to do the same thing. Make sure to get that hotel booking reference number and keep that handy in case of emergencies. But even then, I still like to email or call the hotel and confirm that they have my reservation and that any issues get ironed out before the actual stay. By doing these things, you mitigate the risk of being surprised by an unknown incident. And I personally like to do this soon after I make the reservation, and then also kind of take a look at my reservations before the trip, maybe 1 week beforehand, just to figure out if there's any last minute changes that occurred that I need to take care of over the phone or via email. So far, this has proved successful for me. However, you still run the risk of something happening, and in that case, you really just have to go with the punches here. And for me, I think that's just a general risk of travel. I mean, yes, the third party can add a different wrench in everything. However, travel gets ugly no matter who you're dealing with at some point. So here's my personal code as far as what I would and would not book via a travel portal. I would not book an international flight that spans an ocean, such as from Texas going over to Asia or from the United States going to Europe, just because that's too much risk for me if something goes wrong. Now, I haven't been put in this situation yet, but I might buy an intra-Europe flight, for example, like a European city to another European city via travel portal if it made sense. But I would probably only do so if I had enough time to make other arrangements if needed. For instance, if I'm trying to make that flight in order to make another flight, then I'm definitely not going to do that, because if something goes wrong, then that's going to mess up bigger plans, such as getting home. And I would rather book that directly with an airline instead. Now, I don't really have any issues booking a hotel through a travel portal so long as I take those steps that I mentioned before. This is actually how I booked a beautiful bed and breakfast in Italy, and it was such a great experience, and I got to use a $300 travel credit on the Capital One travel portal. And third, I always have to have some type of backup plan in my head, but I need to know that I can make a last minute hotel reservation somewhere else via some cash reserves I have or some points that I have stashed up that I can redeem as needed. And then finally, I need to be mentally okay with losing everything. The cash I spent on the flight, my house, my kids, my wife. Just kidding, I don't have half of those things. But I need to be okay to where, like, if I lose this money that I spent on this flight, it's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be the end of the world. I can replace it if needed. And if I'm not able to make that mental judgment call, then I would probably err on booking with an airline or hotel directly. And so now I want to hear from you. You've heard my thoughts. I want to hear your stories, the horror stories, the success stories. And while you're at it, be sure to check out this video or this playlist. I'll see you in the next one.